I'm on the CBS telecast. He's Jake. I'm Sean. Happy Thanksgiving again. Dallas trails 17-13, and many things happen. There's a lot to unpack from that first half. I think the highlight for me is Jim Nantz saying Eric Cartman instead of Cartman during a South Park promo. That I don't know if there's going to be a higher moment for me from the game today, but Dallas was very close to being down 3 scores after Greg Zuerlein missed a 59-yard field goal, and they were able to pull it out of the ditch with a late touchdown in the first half.
Yeah, I would say the thing that probably jumps out the most from the first half is just penalties. Some of them warranted, some of them not. You know, I feel like one of Anthony Brown's pass interference calls was pretty egregious, and one of them was a pretty poor call. I thought the Biotish hold on the 32-yard Pollard run, a little bit questionable. We know they're one of the more penalized teams in the league. It seemed like a lot of that was coming from the fact that Connor Williams was the most penalized player in the league. He hasn't been playing, and yet still this team is played by
he
penalties.
has played, though. That's the thing.
Curiously, yes.
Because they decided to trade out Lyle Collins for Steele at right tackle, and also, you know, Connor McGovern started the game, but then Connor Williams got a series after they scored their first touchdown. No continuity from the offensive line early on, which it's puzzling more than anything.
Yeah, which I hope that the results pressured them out of that, because they tried it, I believe, for one drive, and it was a 3-and-out.
Yeah.
They tried
right.
the offensive line switch for 3 plays after the touchdown. They go 3-and-out. So the penalties are obviously a huge factor. And some of that, again, I think is that they're a team that plays with a lack of discipline. Some of it is I just think the league has a problem. I mean, even watching the first game today,
right?
It was just like, dude, there's no continuity of these games at all.
That was a long first half.
It really was.
The penalties added to it for sure. I mean, we're past 5 o'clock now, and it feels like that was 3 quarters of football we just watched instead of 2.
Yeah, so outside of the penalties on both sides of the ball, really, I would say that Dak, it's another game where he just hasn't looked totally locked in. Now, the throw to Cedric Wilson down the sideline where he had to put a little bit of air under it, Cedric Wilson, great route on the wheel, gets upfield a little bit. That was nice. But he's also missed 3 or 4 times that seemed like they were makeable throws.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of a continuation, really, of what we've seen since he came back from injury, save for the Atlanta game. And then the third thing I would mention is that it clearly seems like they know that a 70-30 split between Zeke and Pollard is not the answer right now.
Yeah, Zeke does not have any burst right now, and it's not a shock. I mean, he's been very upfront about how sore his knee is. He's also dealing with a bit of an ankle issue, and you just didn't see that burst early on, so you kind of knew Tony Pollard was going to be the featured running back as far as touches go, and right now he's getting more touches, and he's just the faster player right now. And if Dallas is going to come back in this game, he needs more snaps in the second half because you need your playmakers on the field because you're trailing. And luckily, they were able to pull back in the game, so the run game is not going to be abandoned in the second half. Because if there's one thing that Las Vegas cannot do, it is defend against the run. They're the 4th worst in the league at it. And even though this offensive line's been a little wonky so far today, it feels like that there's an ability to run the ball, especially with those defensive ends that get so much upfield pressure.
Yeah, that's a great point about getting it down to 4, which I believe they should have gone for 2 right there, at least in my opinion. But it's the first half, so no big deal. But getting it to that point means they can continue to run the ball, because Vegas is basically doing the same thing that teams have been doing for the last few weeks, which is they're just harassing the receivers. Like, without CeeDee Lamb out there and obviously Amari Cooper, nobody can really get open.
No.
So everybody has a guy plastered on him, and usually the outside guys have another guy bracketed. So they're basically asking you to run the ball. And even when a team is asking you to run the ball, I'm not sure if Zeke could really do that down in, down out right now. So Pollard is going to be massive in the second half if they're going to get out of this thing.
But apparently Zeke's going to keep playing, because there was a stretch there where Pollard was the only running back on the field, and we thought, okay, is Zeke even going to come back? Well, yes, he did. He got a 1-yard touchdown run after Pollard made one hell of an effort on a little underneath swing pass to get it down to the 1. But the secret weapon of Sean McEwen he got himself a touchdown. I mean, it's good to see that Dalton Schultz has some catches. So when you don't have your top receivers, at least there's guys that Dak somewhat trust. But I just want to see Dak hit guys. And honestly, if Derek Carr could hit his tight end down in the red zone instead of settling for a field goal. I think we're having a different vibe heading into this second half.
Yeah, and part of the reason that was a tough sell for the Raiders is because Darren Waller's out of the game, which probably for everything we've said in the first 5 minutes here, that's probably the biggest factor.
Yeah, we don't need to bury the lead
for the second half. Huge. Is that a superstar, their best player, is out of the game. But you go back to that McEwen touchdown. That was just a nice little play action rollout. They have easy options in the passing game. I just don't know that they are, the throws that they would traditionally attempt with Lamb and with Cooper. Yeah. There's points here. And then final thing for me is just Micah is the best defensive player in the league right now. Yeah, like it's another week where he's everywhere. He not going to get credited for this in the stat sheet, but he had a hands to the face that then resulted in them punting. One play later, which was a weird play because they ruled it a catch rather than an incomplete. But he's just everywhere. He's getting pressures and he gets penalized. With what's the word I'm looking for here? Basically, takes penalties. Elicits penalties, draws penalties more than just about anybody else in the league. So the kid's a monster.
Well, I mean, you do have to give Derek Carr some credit. He's doing a good job of maneuvering in the pocket and making some throws. That first throw to Deshaun Jackson for the touchdown was just outstanding. And we talked a little bit about in the pregame about how Deshaun Jackson, you still have to account for that speed even at his advanced age, and it really bit him there early. But the one thing that I worry about that I think Las Vegas actually did a good job when they tried to do it was run the football, because Jacobs is a hell of a player, and they also have a Kenyon Drake who can, do damage. If I'm a Las Vegas fan, I'm hoping they try to run the ball against Dallas, because whenever they tried to do it, it seemed to work in the first half.
Yeah, it works for most teams.
But that's not their offense. They don't ever really lean into that for whatever reason. And when you have such a poor offensive line outside of your left tackle, it's easier for bad offensive linemen to run block. And I think maybe that's something you could see them try to do here in the second half, because they've been owning time of possession.
Yeah, and without Waller, that may be the play for them. Yeah. So this might turn into a pretty grinded-out second half here. But, I know Dallas came into the game favored 7.5, but, man, I feel like right now, down 4 at the half, you're not – the Raiders are getting the ball to start the second half. This is a very winnable game, and it will be full-on panic mode time if they don't pull this out.
I know.
After the performance that they posted against Denver, after the performance last week, if they can't beat this team that has been in a terrible way for their last few weeks, this will be panic mode time, which is not really fair because they'd be 7-4.
I know,
but it will be.
And I know it's trendy and it's years past don't really matter, but to think the Cowboys would, if they don't win, would lose 4 or 5 on this holiday, that's hard to get your head around too. But second half should be interesting. Hopefully Dak can just play better. Honestly, I think if there's one key point for Dallas to come back and win this game, Dak Prescott has to be play as well as a guy that got paid the way he did in the offseason. And maybe that's an oversimplification, but so far we haven't seen the good Dak really in this game, but I still think there's plenty of time to unbury that.
He needs Amari. Go back to his stats before the trade and look at his stats since the trade. He absolutely needs Amari. But I think they should be able to get by against average to bad teams without him. And if you can't...
Yeah, the Raiders secondary is not good.
Right. If you can't, then people start questioning your quarterback, and all Hades will break loose over the next, what will end up being 10 days before they play again. So this is huge, man.
We'll take care of some pie at the half, get back to the second half. And after the game, Jake and Donovan are going to be talking to you right here on the ticket. Then tonight, of course, we have Sunday Night Football with... the Saints and Bills. That'll be pretty good too. So thanks for tuning into us. We do wish you a happy Thanksgiving, not only for today, but all the support you give us year round. Thank you, P1s, and I guess go Cowboys.